This video contains spoilers for Criminal Minds Season 4, Episode 20. A trigger warning for this video: we will be talking about male on male rape and kink. If these are a trigger for you, this video may not be appropriate. Feel free to check out our other content though. Hello and welcome to the Road System. My name is Sarah and today we are returning to the TV show Criminal Minds. Today we are looking at Season 4, Episode 20. This episode is yucky. I do not recommend watching it if kink, male on male rape, nudity and alpha males is a trigger for you. We will give you an outline of the plot so that you have some context for our thoughts on the video. Let's get into it. Throughout the episode is future jumps in which a therapist and Spencer Reid interviews the murderer, who is female. The BAU gets called in for a couple of murders of male college students who are partying. What makes these murders a BAU case is the fact that these physically competent males are being tied up and raped before their traumatic death. As the team investigates, they determine that there is a team of unsubs, a female who lures the targets into their rooms where she ties them up, and a male who takes over to rape and murder them. They determine that these murders are about humiliating alpha males who believe they have a right to women's bodies. As they investigate, they hone in on two workers at the hotel where the murders are taking place and bring the suspect team in. These suspects are ruled out and the BAU begins the process of finding suspects again. However, the woman they brought in suspects and confronts the man. He is shown to have a mental illness episode before becoming like a dominant woman. The scene is interspersed with the BAU figuring out that the male suspect has DID or dissociative identity disorder. The suspect is apprehended and arrested as they attempt to murder their father who abused them growing up. The episode ends in the future with Spencer interviewing the female alter who had murdered the students. So, unlike the previous two episodes dealing with DID, this episode gets some things right. But there is still so much that this episode gets wrong. The first major improvement is the origins of DID. DID is a trauma disorder that can only form in early childhood due to severe, repeated trauma. In Adam's case, he witnessed his stepfather abuse his mum, and when she was gone, he turned the abuse onto Adam. As a result, Amanda was created. It was her job to take the trauma. This is right. Alters form to protect the mind and the body from trauma through extreme compartmentalization and amnesia. For the first time, the show got this right. But there are many things the show gets wrong. There is an improvement on language, including some up-to-date language like dissociative identity disorder and alter. However, there is a ton of language, including "you think he is a multiple personality," alter persona and alter ego. These aren't current language. The correct way to say this is, do you think he has DID? Or do you think he is a DID system? Alter is the term used to describe the identity state, but other current terms are person and identity. Persona and ego gives the impression that the alters are made up, or DID is more of a personality disorder rather than a dissociative disorder. Another thing the show gets wrong is the continual push that Adam, regardless of his alters, was going to become a serial killer anyway because of his trauma. If I am remembering the statistics correctly, 1 in 8 people who are abused will go on to be abusers. However, the remaining 7 out of 8 are more likely to return to being abused. For someone with DID, the statistics of returning to being abused is much higher. Very few people with DID become abusers and murderers. The unfortunate reality is that media likes to continue to paint us all as murderers and abusers. The other really bad element in this episode can be summarized with this real life story. We have a friend who has a sister who had no clue what DID was until she met us. What she knew at that point in time was what we were able to tell her. She watched this episode of Criminal Minds and asked us whether the crazy violent one can take over for good. Episodes like this continue the perception that every person with DID has an evil alter who will eventually take over and destroy the life of the person afflicted with it. This episode of Criminal Minds has Amanda taking over Adam's life as he ceases to exist. It is never resolved, but the show makes it seem that Spencer is making it his life's mission to free Adam from Amanda's control. DID systems do not need to be freed from their alters. Healing comes through integrating alters, not necessarily fusion, which is when alters combine to create a new alter, but integration, where the alters learn to share information and the amnesia barriers are lowered to improve functioning. Alters can get front stuck, which is when switching is impossible, but this is not permanent. Amanda taking over for good, as my friend's sister put it, is unrealistic and adds to the stigma surrounding DID. Alters come in a range of forms, and there are alters who have a tendency to harm. However, the vast majority of these alters turn their tendencies inward towards their own system. Systems can have physical protectors who will step in and harm another person, but this is only in the extreme situation where the body is in immediate danger. The situation depicted in the show is very unrealistic. The vast majority of DID systems have a trauma response to fawn and freeze over the fight response that is needed to harm another person in this way. And the vast majority of systems that do have the fight response only use it when they themselves are in harm's way. Another aspect of the show is the difference between Adam and Amanda. Like many media representations of DID, Adam and Amanda are shown to be an overt system, meaning their switches are noticeable and an outsider looking at them can tell when someone else is fronting. Most DID systems and OSDD systems are covert, meaning that an outsider will typically have no idea that a change has happened. Whilst a covert system on screen wouldn't be entertaining, there is not enough representation of this in the media. This episode has been a major improvement on the previous storyline involving DID, but it is still atrocious. We are once again depicted as sadistic killers waiting to snap and start our revenge. This is horrible. We love Criminal Minds as a show, we find it very cathartic, but episodes like this reminds us that mental illnesses and disorders are very much portrayed negatively in these shows. That the lessons we learn are distorted by people who do not care about accurate representations, but would rather dramatize and villainize underrepresented people. This is not a good representation of DID, and please don't take shows like Criminal Minds as facts. There is so little good representation of DID. The best we have seen is Petals of a Rose. You can check out that video here, up above, or on the end screen. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like if you have enjoyed it. Please know you are loved by the incredible God of the universe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!